On to the July 2018 Ravenna Bryant Community Association Board meeting. It's good to see so many people here in the room. I'm trying to decide, since we have an abbreviated meeting, how strongly do all the guests feel about introducing themselves? Or we usually go around at the beginning of the meeting and introduce ourselves. Does anyone care? Okay.
I come here every day.
Do you come here every day?
Yeah, that's basically my office.
Okay.
Think out loud.
So-
I never worked with people.
So, well, actually, why don't we introduce board members at the very least? So I'm Inga Manskopf, and I'm the president of the Ravenna Bryant Community Association.
Jordan Baker, vice president and board member.
Orly Howard, board member.
Scott Campbell, board member. David Katz, secretary and board member.
And the same board member.
Sarah? Want to introduce yourself?
I'm Sarah Swansburg. I'm the treasurer.
I didn't see any other board members. Okay. So we do have a quorum. Please note for the record that, for the record, can you note that Josephine is excused?
Michelle said she's on her.
Michelle's not here. Okay. So first up on the agenda, we have the minutes to review from June. Have all the board members had a chance to look at the minutes from June? Is there a second? Jordan, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we're passed. Treasurer's report, Sarah?
947 36. I cashed it, check.
So if you haven't given your dues to Sarah, please give your dues to Sarah as soon as possible. Jorgen already gave his report. He, if anyone in the audience didn't see this, he attended a meeting with Councilmember Rob Johnson and other community association leaders. Is that right?
That's right.
And the topic was homeless service. Here, you can have one. You have another. Thank you. Homeless services. Jordan, was that what it was?
No, that's when we had a report from Dusty, who's head of the program. And what you see there is what she went over. And I gave an extension of remarks to the members of the board.
Okay. Thank you for going to that. And so next up is my report. Just so everyone knows, we don't have a meeting in August. In August we give, since we have National Night Out. Hi, Michelle. Since it's National Night Out, we ask that everyone attend events in their neighborhood instead of having a board meeting. So the next meeting will be on September 4th. And just so you know, we usually don't meet here. For those of you who don't have come to RBCA meetings before, we meet at the community center, so the Ravenna Exine Community Center, and everyone's welcome to attend those meetings. Next up, social media. I don't know if all of you board members or anyone has noticed that I haven't had the time really lately to do much for content on the website. I just feel like my work is taking over my life right now. So if any of you want to take on posting information to the website or take on posting information to Facebook or to Twitter, I think we need someone who can step up and start doing that. I still can put agendas on the website. I can still put agendas in the basic stuff, but actual content, I really don't have the capacity to do as much as I have.
And when Scott, you can do something.
Oh, I will. I'll put together a success story for the sidewalk campaign once it's built.
Once it's built, you don't want to.
Once it's there. There'll be an update.
Okay. So, and when I say you don't actually, if you're intimidated by actually going onto the back end of a website, I'm happy to just take a Word document and cut and paste. And Sarah can cut and paste too. So it doesn't mean actually going into the website. but I encourage you all for that. So it's two of the ideas recently that have been suggested. Michelle, do you want to put anything up about the projects on 25th on the website? Are you planning to do
Yeah,
anything
I'm
like that?
still working on that, but I just thought it'd be a great way to educate our community about all the proposed development that's happening along and around 25th. I don't know if people know that there's quite a few projects that are being planned.
So, yeah, so if you could either get them, you can decide it from there. And then,
Well, U Village started their 7-story garage for one.
Wow. Where is it going to be? On 25th?
Oh, in that back
Yeah, you
area.
know where anthropology,
No, that's.
Okay.
that surface,
In the front?
that's the new garage.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they need it.
7
Wait, yeah, I was just wondering, do you know if these developments are subject to the new director's ruling from SDCI that they have to undergo their own community outreach? Is that something that they have to do?
Well, not U Village, because they long ago vested with their permits, but any new projects have to do early engagement as far as design review.
Yeah, it's pretty important to have some more parking. But they've developed so much in the area, particularly on that left side, Eureka.
so another suggestion was a neighbor of ours contacted us through our website contact us page. I don't know if you guys all know that, but we have a contact us page on our website. And someone emailed, I guess it's emailed, asking if we could put some content on the website about supporting businesses on 35th during the construction of the road. So I wanted to put out there, does anyone want to write any sort of articles put onto the website about that? About supporting businesses? I'll bring it up I'll put that out on an email, and maybe some of the board members who aren't here right now can do that. And thanks to Andrew, we now have, our website is now linked to a Google Docs page, and I have been slowly but surely uploading our minutes and our meeting agendas and our handouts and everything, so it's a public folder. I haven't gotten it all figured out yet on
I wanted to
organization.
discuss that with you today.
Why, tell me.
Yeah,
Tell me
I'm just
more.
wondering, just to make sure we can work out the details and make sure we understand how to use the system. So you said that you do understand it, right?
No, I very much.
Okay.
I'll let you know. Thanks for helping with that. It was really simple, right? I know, but it wasn't, I was like, I don't know. So eventually I plan to have all of the minutes uploaded onto our Google, our shared drive, our public shared drive.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What is meant when you say supporting businesses on really good?
So that was, someone had suggested through our contact us page that during the construction, they were afraid that businesses would not have as many people coming because of the construction, and they wanted us to put something out on our website about going to businesses.
Has the council, the organization association, taken a position regarding this redevelopment?
No, we have not.
Is there any way that some of us here tonight might influence that?
Sure, I understand.
If we were here tonight, might be able to influence the association to take a stand on the redevelopment of the area.
So there are 8 of us here. For us to take a position, we need 9 people to vote in favor of it. So we can talk about it if you like, but unless we have 9 votes to take a position, we can't take a position. So it's really up to you.
I would very much like you to discuss it. I mean, I think a bunch of us are here to talk about that project.
Sure.
People dressed in yellow.
So if you, I don't know how, if you want to, I pretty much think I know what all of you think, so, but if you want, and I'm pretty sure you all know what I think. So if we want to open it up for discussion, that's fine.
You don't know what you think, actually.
Well, me personally, I'm for the bike lanes, and I think there should be bike lanes on every arterial road in the city. city. So that's where I stand on it. But let me say that our board does not agree. We have very divergent opinions on this board. And quite frankly, that's probably why we haven't taken a vote on it, because a vote, neither side has the votes. If I will take a motion from the floor if someone wants us to take a vote and take a position, but again, first of all, we don't have 9 people to have a position tonight.
So you have a quorum, but you can't do that, that's what your bylaws are?
If we changed our bylaws to someone, yes, our bylaws are, if you can check it out, it's on the website.
Okay.
2/3 majority vote we require, and 2/3 for these purposes is 9 people on our board. So if someone wants to make a motion, we can have a discussion, but
I'd like to
as I
make a
said,
motion to have a discussion.
okay, can you be more?
So I'm curious as to why you think there should be a bike lane on every arterial in Seattle.
Why do I think that?
Yeah.
Because I know it increases safety for people who bike and for people who walk. So do we really want to have this discussion now? I mean, I'm serious. Okay, that's fine, because, that's fine. All right, I'm just saying, you're not going to be changing my position about this, hold on. And I know I'm not changing your position about this. We can have the discussion. So if you want to make, go ahead.
What if we take a position, then what?
But we
vote and we take a position, then what?
I mean, nothing happens, right? It's shovels in the ground, right?
Well, if you could talk to them, I get a feel for people.
So if people want to stand up and make comments, that's fine. We can start with you, make a comment, we'll listen, and we can have a discussion.
I ride every day in the city. I use 39th every
Can
day.
you speak up? There's a lot of people back here.
Can't hear it.
I ride every day in the city. I'm a big bicyclist. I commute to work and I ride for recreation. But 35th is a commercial arterial. There's businesses on it. People who aren't capable of riding and don't feel like riding in the rain the 210 days out of the year when it rains probably want some other alternative for 35th than a bike lane. We have one on 39th. We don't need it on 35th. That's my opinion.
Can I add? Also, the people live on 35th as well, and when the bike lane is put in, it takes away their parking, which is a real problem for those people because, I mean, parking is already limited on 35th, so finding a parking spot could possibly make these people who might not be capable or might not want to walk, like, in the middle of the night 2 blocks to where they park. So just in addition to what he said, I agree with everything he said, but I think also we got to think of the homeowners who live on that street that will be losing their parking.
Next, you want to make a comment?
I'm curious if you make a recommendation on the board here, and I know nothing about your board, is that just a recommendation, or who makes the final decision on whether we turn 35th Avenue into a bike lane? Who makes that decision?
City Council.
Well, no, it was made back in 2014 when the bike master plan was just saying, it's on the bike master plan. We have a pedestrian master plan, we have a bike master plan, we have a transit master plan, we have a freight master plan. We have all these master plans, and the bike lanes on 35th were part of the bike master plan that was adopted in 2014. So it's already been a decision.
So it's just a recommendation,
What's just a recommendation?
our vote, your vote.
Oh, yeah, it's.
So if we have strong opinions about it, who do we talk to?
You talk to the
I mean,
mayor.
you've already got your opinion, so who do we talk to?
I think all of you, I think your group has been pretty organized, and I think that they've been contacting the mayor's office. If I would continue to contact the mayor's office. If you want to contact Rob Johnson, but he's not probably moving on this. You can contact the Seattle Department of Transportation, contact all your city council members. I think this group has done that already, so
We're not part of the group, we're not all a group.
Okay,
Some people may be part of the group, I'm not.
okay.
But I've been in this area for many, many, many years. I do bicycle.
Mhm.
My husband committed to UW on 39th before it was a designated bike way, because that was the only place that had good access to the brick building and was quiet and safe.
Putting all these routes in there that we don't need. I mean, you've got a route that you need, and you said safety, and the last thing you're introducing is safety. You put people on bicycles on 35th, you put them on Sandpoint Way, that is not safe. 39 with no markers is far more safe.
I know, and I'm a bicyclist, cyclist too. What can I say?
All my years of living in this area between Ledgewood and Matthews Beach, I've seen maybe 3 bicyclists on 35th. Nobody wants to bicycle on 35th. And the businesses don't have their own parking. They need parking. The residents south of here need the parking.
So when the controversy started, I went out to 35th and I stood on the street at commute times in the morning. And there were way more than 3 bicyclists using that street and having to weave in and out of parked cars and not parked cars. I've heard that rhetoric a lot and I know because I've stood there for an hour and watched and taken video. A lot of people use that street to bike home now.
There are 15,000 cars on the street.
So can we go on?
According to SDOT, 3%.
Excuse me, can we go one at a time? Would you like to go next?
Yes.
Then raise your hand
Yes.
and go ahead.
He did that.
So, 4,000 people have signed a petition, predominantly from this neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods, opposing the bike lane component along 35th Avenue Northeast. It was originally billed by SDOT as a paving plan, and we all know now, but we didn't know it in 2016, that it is far more than a paving plan. It is a complete rechannelization and reconfiguration of our neighborhood's Main Street, which 15,000 cars travel upon every single day, as well as bicycles, as well as pedestrians, as well as mass transit. 1,100 people since last Monday have written letters via email to City Hall, most recently proclaiming their opposition to the bike lanes. 50 small businesses along a very fragile small business corridor. You want to talk about supporting local businesses, small businesses, female-owned businesses from 55th to 85th have signed up in opposition to the bike lanes in concern for what it will do to commerce on this very fragile commercial corridor. The community could not be more opposed to the bike lane project. The Northeast District Council has opposed the project. That was undermined by this group, by the way, in emails to City Hall, which I think is unfortunate.
It was not, it was not. Not by this group. It was not by this group.
Well, emails were sent to Rob Johnson on behalf of or in
No,
affiliation with this
it was
group.
not. It was not. It was not.
Who emailed Rob Johnson?
I did as a citizen for the bike lanes. I did not identify as an RDCA member. I did not. I'm very clear in separating what I do as president and what I do as an advocate for
Well, I
bike
defer to
lanes.
you to your governance and the appropriateness of that. I personally disagree with that.
Well, that's your issue too, but do not misrepresent what I have done.
I'm just suggesting that the Northeast District Council, which unanimously opposes, was undermined by communications emanating out of this room. That's
No, they were
unfortunate.
not emanating out of this room. Please correct
That's
yourself.
my assessment.
Well, that is not the truth, so I'm going to tell you that is not the truth, and I want that on the record.
That's fine. Moving past that, Hawthorne Hills has opposed this project. Windermere has opposed this project. Meadowbrook last week has opposed this project. I'm suggesting that this group listen, which City Hall is not doing, which Rob Johnson is not doing, which SDOT is not doing, which you are otherwise very good at. Stop and listen to the community. Listen to the neighborhood. Listen to the thousands of people and the dozens of businesses and the almost near unanimous support for what this group of neighbors is saying, which is that these bike lanes should not be installed along 35th. We should make 39th better. Right now it's a disaster as it moves across the very business, arterials running across it. We should put it along 36th, which is what SDOT proposed to Rob Johnson. He refused to listen. We proposed 30th. We'll support it on 25th. There are other arterials that will allow bicyclists, which incidentally comprise 3% of the patrons of businesses in the city of Seattle, only 3% according to SDOT. There are compromises here. If this group will listen and join with us to figure out something that works for everybody involved.
So what's your name?
Gabriel Galanda.
Thank you for the.
I just want to add to your numbers the 2,000 cars, et cetera. The apartments and condos going up on 35th currently, I don't think they require parking. And this is a whole other issue that I don't want to get into at this point, but developers don't have to require parking garages. So that one going up just north of the Autobahn, that won't be parked, and all those cars, those will be cars that have to park up there. So that's another thing, that all those other communities that you don't have too, so you can add that to the mix as well.
Another comment, right?
Yeah, clear something up for me. I'm a little confused. We've looked up your bylaws on the web here. It says a quorum for board meetings shall be 6 members, and the decisions of the board are approved by a simple majority of members present, unless otherwise noted elsewhere in the bylaws. Where is elsewhere in the bylaws?
So scroll down.
Okay.
We put a, I don't know exactly where it is, but you scroll down and it talks about taking positions. A person who would vote for, against the bike lanes, wanted that in there, just so you know. So back there.
Question, and you already answered this in another way. So are you going to move the buses, or are they going to remain on 35th? Because if the buses are here and the lane is constricted, that means that the traffic is going to be backed up by
I don't know the specifics about buses. Yeah,
well, hold on a second, if you don't know who does,
Andrew, do you know?
I'm pretty sure they're inline stops. They don't pull out of the traffic lane. Because as I understand it, the thinking here was that they don't want to have the buses be sort of like blocked off by cars not refusing to yield to them, that can be stuck on the side.
Actually, we have a letter from Metro saying otherwise. Yeah.
So, in the flash right there?
I've heard contrary. Yes, yeah,
Not certain.
bicycle advisory board, that's Wednesday, you were there, I saw you. And you guys gave the guy from SDOT a lot of hell because the buses are gonna be pulling over into the bike lanes.
35th Southwest.
Yes, but that's the same thing we've heard here, so we hear contrary information. It is not clear what the buses or our utility vehicles, garbage, et cetera, are gonna be doing.
You have a comment here?
I don't have a real citizens game, but, you know, I lived in Europe, and I don't understand, you know, Europe has successfully combined bicyclists, cars, mass transportation. Why should bicyclists be second-class citizens? Why shouldn't bicyclists have access to main roads like anybody? We have a huge problem in this city. I commute by bus every day to First Hill. The traffic is terrible because people are driving. They're all single cars every day. There are single people in cars. We have this everywhere, car culture. That may be, but I'm saying, why should bicyclists be second-class citizens? We have every right to be on the road and to be safe on the road, making our to get where we want to go, instead of always having to take the back roads, go around all the cars. Bicyclists have rights.
So wait, I will call on you in a second, over here.
Hi, I'd like to just talk on my experience on 130th, 137th. We went to the process 4 years ago. My name's Joe. And my experience has been, I go on that road maybe 5 to 10 times a week. For 4 years now, I've probably gone on the road 400 times. I've seen 10 bicyclists. I'm not saying there aren't more than that, but the times I've gone there, I've seen maybe 10 bicyclists in 400 trips. Now, I've been stuck in traffic and missed signals because of long lines about 100 times. So I don't get it. I don't see benefit from this. So I expect we'll see similar problem on 35th. I believe it's more use, but 130 that was a disaster.
So you, and then you. So change your.
Yeah. First, I'll just tack on to what that you just said. I personally live in between 15th Avenue and Roosevelt, which is in the Maple neighborhood. I've done business and gone to school here all my life. I went to Durham Creek Elementary and Eckstein Middle School and did lots of things in the neighborhood. And I grew up when they added bike lanes to Roosevelt in my area. Traffic constricts during rush hour, and that will only decrease the efficiency of buses and also make it unsafe for bikes at the same time. Second of all, addressing bikes as a second-class citizen, I don't support that idea. I think they should, definitely have equal representation. But bicyclists should also be held accountable and liable for certain actions and accidents. So if I hit one by accident and it was their fault, I don't get a whole financial limit and I don't get sued. Third of all,
This is not even the point here.
it's very
Can we let him talk, please?
Third of all, I have evidence I print out from public records of communications between SDOT and Councilmember Bob. And he's known for probably a year, 2 years, about 68% opposition to doing this on 35th Avenue. So think about that before we do anything else.
Next.
So, in response to the woman who was talking about bikes in Europe, I mean, I've been in Europe too, and they do have a wonderful bicycle culture there. And I think we could have that here as well. I'm not opposed at all. But not all of us are able to ride bicycles. We've got many elderly in this neighborhood. Some people that are, not or have mobility issues where they need to take buses and that sort of thing. And it's my understanding that 6 of the bus routes or bus stops are going to be taken away if this goes through. So my point is, since bicyclists are by nature able-bodied, they have the ability to use some of the side streets where many of the others of us do not. And that's my point.
Okay. As I understand it, the bus stop consolidation was supposed to have been a separate kind of a thing, whereas trying to increase the speed of the bus by having it make fewer stops, right? So I don't think that's really part of the bike lane discussion. But this is how I understand it.
Nevertheless. Can we let him talk, please?
Well, how do you believe that? How is it pertinent to the bike lane discussion?
Being a disabled senior woman and a teacher who assigned her students to count how many bicycles go down the road in 1 week, I was stunned. But when you let up a wheelchair and that has to be done properly, and you've got bicyclists coming around you like on Roosevelt, it's terrifying. So they have a lot to do with each other. ADA is not happy with this at all. I'm sorry, I'm not finished.
No.
Okay. I lived in Europe, and it's a very different culture right now than it was. I love riding my bike in Europe. But I just got back from San Francisco, and I asked them, they get charged a license tab. Why are we not doing this? You guys don't even have to ride in the bike lanes I'm paying $12 million for.
Right.
If that were together, I might feel a little better, but not on 35th because I'm between here and 40th, and all of this is going to be put onto 40th. So you can fix this and make it the way you want it. I'm not against bicyclists, but I wish you could follow some rules and the money was actually dealt so we all got some. But I'm very concerned about obviously disabled and, I mean, it's not, San Francisco told me the reason it worked well for them is nobody drives there anymore. It's too dangerous to drive. Well, I had my bus route removed. My bus route was removed because they ran out of funding.
Michelle?
I think this is the most participation we've ever seen, which is so amazing, but I keep hearing comments like, you guys should do this, or you guys should decide that. And honestly, we're a volunteer community association, and the decision makers are the city.
We've been writing to the city,
Yeah.
none of us have gotten a response.
But you're a powerful group, they will listen to this group.
We can't, we haven't voted on it because there's no consensus on the group yet.
We defer to you and your governance.
So this is great to get the community's input, but I'm just clarifying that the comments being, you guys should decide to do this, you should spend the money this way. We're not SDOT.
Well, as gentleman pointed out earlier, this is just about the only local group who has not joined the fight.
Well, Roosevelt hasn't either. Go ahead.
I was just asking, I'm wondering if by eliminating the number of bus stops in order for the buses to go faster, if you have more congestion and just one lane for the bus to go in, how is that going to help?
Well, one thing I don't really understand is that, at present, the configuration of the road is one lane anyways, right? Like, you're parking on two sides, now the parking is going away, right? So,
Parking on one side during peak.
But, I find that, it's extremely frequent, right? I see that there's just one legal parker there, and that just pretty much destroys the entire flow of the street, right? So that's not really, so consistent with my own experiences, south of south, I think it's 55th, right? And you don't think one person, one FedEx van, or, just ruin the entire sort of paradise.
Imagine how bad it's going to be.
All right, so do we have other comments? We have a comment back there, and then the woman, and then the person with the hat.
I just want to come back to the bus issue that we were saying how it's relevant. Well, if we increase, first of all, we have May 35th in order to get from 65 to the light rail station. That's part of the plan, have more bus service. If we increase congestion on 35th and slow down the times of those buses, it's counterproductive to getting people to get to the light rail. So I'm not against bikes, I am a biker. I think the point we're trying to make, 35th is not the place to put bikes. We have emergency vehicles, we have buses, we have cars, we have pedestrians. We can figure out another way to route bikes. The buses are relevant.
My nephew by
No, it was actually, sorry, it was the gentleman in the back. And then you can go after him.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I'm Brett Taylor. I live here in Wedgewood on 39th Avenue, which is a designated bicycle road. Thank you all very much for listening to me and to us. Bicyclists who ride on 39th Avenue are almost all terrific people. There aren't a lot of them, but it's great. Commuters go both ways, and mostly south in the morning, north in the evening, and families in the afternoons. I walk on the weekdays to 35th Avenue. I like it just the way it is. It's actually very good for a pedestrian on weekends at least. And I don't know about weekdays because I don't do it then. I commute using 39th Avenue to get to Bothell to work. It's counter-commuting. There are a lot of people going in the other direction, so for me it's not bad. And I would hate for you guys, excuse me, not you guys, I would hate for the city to make a decision that actually works against the interests of those people who are commuting. This is something that needs to be taken into account too. Thank you very much for listening.
I'm me, and I live where seniors live, and they get plowed over by the bicyclists pretty much regularly. If they don't slow down, it's on the Burkham Trail. And that's okay, but a lot of people don't get the benefit of the bicycle trail like the seniors. The seniors actually have to watch out for any bicyclist that zooms by on the street, on the pavement, on the sidewalks. My nephew has to bicycle on the sidewalks because it's too dangerous to be out on the street. And that's not saying that, and the bike lanes, they don't work for him. And he does a regular commute. I used to bicycle a lot. I was a member of the Cascade Bicycle Club, but I don't see people actually being very courteous to, they just zoom by, not stopping, not following directions. It's sad because people are so diverse. They don't want to give an inch, And I don't think I stand with the people who need to drive. I walk and take the bus and I take the rail. And if the buses go away, then what's going to happen to people who are elderly?
We had some comments back here. Yeah, you, Spencer.
I like bike lanes, but I'm not sure about 35th. I live on 25th, and I think that a lot of the traffic will come there. 25th is suitable for a lot of traffic, I suppose, but in 30 minutes on a random morning, there were 14 bicycles, and they were riding on the side of traffic. They were riding with traffic, which all bicycles have the right to do, and bicycles can ride on the sidewalks. I just want to be sure that on 35th, you don't give up your sidewalks, because in Europe, some places share that. And just don't give up anything you already have. We have very narrow sidewalks on 35th, and it's awful. But I won't go on about 25th. Just don't give up what you already have.
Yeah, I lived for a year in Amsterdam in 1969 and 70, and all of that bicycle structure was there by that time. It grew up after the war when they couldn't afford cars. And you didn't have to rip things down to put in the bicycles. It grew up in a natural fashion around the businesses, and they grew up together. It's not coming in afterwards like it is here.
I still say, why should bicycles be second-class citizens? Everybody
They're
talks
not.
about buses,
They're
pedestrians,
not.
cars, but
Can you
bicycles
ever-
are the last place. You talk about we gotta have cars, we gotta have pedestrians. I also live near 25th. We have bicycles, we
take now to get to the light rail is 25th. So I mean, it's the same. It's a question of values. What does the city value? Do we want to keep people in cars, or do we want the people who are able and willing to give up their cars for a little bit and bicycle, and still taking care of elderly people or people who can't bicycle? I mean, it's not a zero-sum game here.
So we have the person in the light blue shirt, and then over here, the woman in the red.
I'm not quite sure that I understand second-class citizens bicycling down 39, or if you're going west, driving, bicycling along the park.
Okay. What I mean
No,
is giving
yeah, there's going to be X number of vehicles, whether they're buses, or cars, or bicycles, or pedestrians. In every single case, I think that it's a whole lot safer to bicycle along 39th and 61st, and the people who live in those areas are not affected by the traffic, the vehicular traffic that is going to go there if they can't go along 65th or 35th.
Yeah.
There's no question that if they're not on those arterials, the vehicles, the motor vehicles, will go into the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And those streets are narrow and extremely dangerous. So, no sympathy for people wanting to put bicycles on the streets.
Coming over here.
Hi, my name's Beth, and I've listened a lot to all these comments, and I think that it's important for the city to be biased in favor of people who have mobility issues, like was brought up earlier. There's a whole range of people who have mobility issues, whether they're senior, whether they have small children, whether they're pregnant, whether they sprain their ankle. There's many people in our community that have mobility issues, and to take away huge chunks of parking alongside these community businesses seems like a real bias against people who need help. And our city should be biased toward people who need more help. Thank you.
Sure. I'm Steve, and I apologize, I'm not a real fluent public speaker, but I think just a general comment, Wedgewood community where we're at, it's not like we're against bike lanes, period. We're more in favor of bike lanes on the side streets, just to keep them off the main arterial. Also, I want to bring up the point of there was a 68% negative factor of putting the bike lane on 35th. If you include the seniors who don't have internet access, this was an online survey, that number would have gone through the roof. They didn't have access. Also, in general, there was talk about the bicycle master plan. This is by the same organization, SDOT, that gave us the $12 million mile bike lane downtown. I would think their judgments look very suspect. There was a survey that the SDOT references a paper about businesses will not lose because of losing on-street parking. Turned out it was done by an undergraduate student who was an intern at SDOT and was later hired full-time, was in charge of pronto, another $1 million. Wouldn't that be nice to have that for the community? I've been in Amsterdam last month, and personally was almost hit 5 times by bicycles. It is not a pedestrian safe area, not at all. And finally, I think the real issue is listening to the community. And we have constantly voiced our objections to the city council, and we're just falling on deaf ears. There's a huge special interest group that's been fighting this tooth and nail even to this day. And so I think really that's where it boils down to. Thank you.
I treat people in pain with osteopathic medicine. I have never, ever had anyone show up. Well, one person showed up on a bicycle, not her first treatment, her 5th treatment. And she worked at the U and she was 22 years old. None of my patients show up on bicycles. Very few of my patients use transit. I park my car for days We need our arterials. It's not reasonable to ask people to come to a business area and not use a car, not have a way to store the items that they might be purchasing and so forth and so on. It might be fine in certain areas of this town where the population is of an age where they don't rely on an automobile, but it's not feasible for this demographic in this neighborhood. And I personally need parking in front of my business for my patients. I need it for several hours at a time. I spend 3 hours with my patients. I'm hearing that in the future, once they eliminate half the parking, they're going to toll the remainder for a maximum of 2 hours. That's going to be the killer if I haven't already left. So I'm asking you to refuse this utopian ideal and look at the reality that people are in their cars. They want a street, an arterial to move. They want to get out of the city. I just fought my way up from Auburn. I started at 5:45, and I just got here. So, you know, it's hard to move in Seattle, and we need to maximize arterials for moving cars so that people don't get frustrated, don't start breaking laws, don't start becoming rude on the road, because they already are. It's really hard.
Back there? Yeah.
We don't have the luxury of going to an office or going to a location to work. I'm an outside sales. I never can take a bus to work or do anything. I have to bring lots of things with me. The other thing is 35th already has bicycles painted on the side where the parking is. And bicycles can go on there. And it's just, it's crazy. You know.
So we have to be out of here, just so you know. And we need to start breaking up in about 25 minutes. So I'm going to take 5 more minutes of comments, and then we need to move on to another agenda item. I believe you haven't spoken yet.
Yeah, so I don't live in the area. I do live on the north end. What I've seen with this weaponized bicycle program that's coming around is when I saw the 35th project and I saw Rob Johnson responding to it, I knew that it wasn't about 2 things. It wasn't about bikes and it wasn't about safety.
Right.
And we just spent as a city $54 billion for a world-class transportation system that's going to be here in 25 years. And you know what? There's no secret to me as to why this is being crammed through on such a rush agenda.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's not about money. It's about money. It's not about bikes, and it's not about safety. Thank you.
So is anyone else, this gentleman in the back, I don't think you've had a chance to comment yet with the check shirt?
Yeah, there's 2 fallacies here about the bike lanes. One is always being touted as safety. And if you put a bike lane on 35th, their plan is to have on the east side of the street where the consolidated parking is, another term for taking away half the parking, they will have a lane of traffic, cars parked, and then a bike lane. And plus, all the intersections, driveways to businesses. All those, you can think of them as collision points. Because every time someone will make a right turn to get into a driveway, there could be a bike coming, and they won't see each other. So it's not safe. Number 2 fallacy. If you build it, they will come. 75th has had a bike lane for 4 years. How many bikes do you see on it?
None.
0. 0. Maybe 1. So, if you build it, they will come is false.
Comments here? We're taking 2 more comments.
Yeah, my name's Vic Bondi. I live on 39th, and on 38th, excuse me. And so I can attest to bike lanes aren't necessarily safer. So I was hit by an SUV on Dexter, where there is a very nice bike lane. I was hit because of the bike lane, because they have those bus stops that stop like this and they obscure the intersection. I'm behind it. There's 2 lights, but there's no light for the bikes. When the light went green, I went through the intersection, the SUV hit me right through that section. The bike lanes don't make you any safer. Managing traffic does. I'll stay off the arterials. I don't want to be hit by a car. right? I'll stay on 39th, I'll stay on the Burke Gilman Trail, but like, bike lanes don't necessarily make anybody safer.
So one more comment, 2 more comments, and then we're going to close the discussion.
Did we just have another board member show up, so we have enough people to vote on this motion now?
We do have enough people. If a board member, yes.
Does a board member
Thank you
want to
for holding my feet
suggest
to
that
the
or not?
fire. I was going to plan to do that.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Sarah.
Well, first of all,
Sarah's going to be the last comment. We have to close down comments after this. Okay, that's a lot of pressure.
So, first of all, about 75th, I just want to make it clear that what happened there was a fatality. There was a family that was, the grandparents were killed, and well, I would just, okay, well, I have met them, okay, and I walked with them, and that really hits close to home for me. I was part of that process of letting everybody know that 75th was going to be, that 75th was going to have a bike lane. And that was about making it safer for people crossing the street. And the reason is that if there are 4 lanes, what happens is people zoom around as somebody's turning left, and it creates an unsafe environment. And that, I think, is also what happens on 35th. When I try to cross the street, there's somebody might stop for me, but then somebody on the right is, hell-bent on heading north or south as fast as they can in their car, and then we're in a kerfuffle. Okay, and so that's just...
Can you let her finish, please?
And the last thing I want to say is I hear a lot of anger in this room, and I hear that. And I just hope that whatever happens with 35th, I hope that you're respectful to the people who do choose to bike.
All right, so
Can I say something that's a little more conciliatory?
Excuse me?
Can I say something that's a little more conciliatory, just towards everybody?
If you take one,
Yeah, so I think the bike lanes are really the only issue of division. I think everybody agrees 35th is an accident waiting to happen. Traffic moves too fast. The ins and outs that you just talked about is a bad idea. I personally would get rid of the rush hour lanes, but I'm probably in the minority there. More crosswalks, more lit beacons, improve the crosswalks along the 39th Freeway. More sidewalks for crying out loud, right? It's the bike lanes that divide us. And to your point, yeah, I do hope it doesn't divide us any further, but it has. I think if we can get past the bike lanes, there's a lot we can all join in together. But I do urge you all to join the community, listen to the community, the overwhelming opposition to the bike lanes, and pass a motion to join us in this cause.
So, Andrew, we need to...
Okay, sure.
So, is there, after listening to all this, is there a motion from any board member about that?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that RBCA take a position on 35th Avenue where we oppose the city construction bike lanes.
Is there a second? Jorgen, there's a second. So now we're going to open for discussion. Andrew.
Yeah, so, I think that at this point, we come into this discussion when it's like 90% design, right? Like, I feel like, I get that the outreach was an ideal, right? There are a lot of issues with that, and I agree with that. And I think that definitely has to change because, having this kind of a situation where it's like, quotes and daggers, nobody knows what's going on, right? Like, that's not really how our city should be operating, right? And I can agree with that. But, there is a formal process associated with this, right? And for example, I had a lot of issues with how Live Railway design. I had a lot of issues with the Battery Street tunnel being built up. But I can't just come in at the 11th hour and say, stop everything, I have issues with this, right? But so what I'm saying is that, it's not really like, I don't really understand, what kind of an outcome you guys are sort of expecting for our board to sort of affect, right? Because, this is...
Something like a constant expressway.
All right, so we're having a discussion among the board. We can be here all night if you want to, but if you want us to vote on this, we need to have a discussion on the board level.
So, I just don't see this as, like something that even if we did oppose it, we couldn't stop it, right? And, everybody's opposing it, and they can't stop it either, right? So, instead, I would like to...
Can we let him finish? If you want us to vote on this, we need to have time to discuss it.
So,
we have to be out of here in 15 minutes, so I suggest that you allow us to discuss it and how we want to vote on it.
I think that instead of advancing a motion to have this just straight opposition. We should advance something that's a little bit more productive. Whereas, maybe we could ask Councilmember Johnson and ask the city to, do a reevaluation in like a couple of years, where if it's not really like saying it's suitable, we
So
can.
are you making a motion to amend?
I don't really understand how the bylaws work, but
Well,
sure. Let's do it.
So the motion on the table is that RBCA takes a position against the bike lanes. Well, you,
I don't agree to.
okay, hold on, but if you want to amend that, we can amend it to say that, we want to add some sort of parameters around future assessment, if it is built.
Sounds good.
But that's only if you want to add that as a.
I do.
So can you make, so then the next thing you do is you say, I move, and then you move what you want to move.
I move to amend the motion to ask Councilmember Johnson and the mayor's office to reassess the effectiveness of this bike lane at a later time.
Is there a second? Okay, so we're, sorry, Henry, that was.
No worries.
Any other comments right now?
No, I want to speak to some of the points you made earlier. I attended the open house where we did the walk from 75th to 65th. We got to 68 where they're going to pull that bus stop. And the people who were in our group were strongly opposed to it because it's close to the churches. But the city told us they are going to pull it, and that's that, because they're too close and they're not going to take the 65th one. They also told us that buses will stop in lane because they don't want bicycles pulling, they don't want buses pulling out into the bicycle lane. And the way to avoid that when you have the narrow streets is have them stop in lane, and they're well aware of the risk that some people might pull out around them and have accidents that way, but they think that that is less of a risk than having buses pull into the bicycle lanes. And that the question also came up from a lady in our group who was mobility impaired, and she wanted to have some reserved spots on 35th so she could get to her doctors. And they said, no, if you want to have that, talk to the library. So what I found there was that from the time we took that tour, the plans were fixed as fully as if they were in concrete, and it would have been a waste of time to say anything further. And I think with respect to your motion, I don't think we're going to listen one whit until somebody dies. And then they're going to do their tombstone planning.
Amen. Any other comments right now about any more discussion?
I have a quick question. Can I vote in support of his amendment and not in support of the?
No, the amendment's dead early.
Thank you.
Any more discussion among board members? So since this is taking a position, I'm sure you looked it up, I'm looking it up right now to find the exact wording, but it's taking up. But since this is taking a position, we need 2/3 of the board to vote. 2/3, we have 13 members on our board, therefore we need to have 9 people vote in favor of the motion, the amendment, the motion to pass. I just wanted to point out that there are 9 board members here today, so that means that all of us would need to vote in favor of this. If anyone has questions about the bylaws, I'm waiting for them to pull up and I can read you the exact.
Are you guys basing your bylaws off Robert's Rules of Order? Doesn't it require a 2/3 present? 2/3 members?
Well, this is how our we amended the bylaws last year. It used to be a straight majority, and the board decided that they wanted to have 2/3 of the entire board.
The presence or the entire board?
The entire, I'm looking, but it's the entire board. The exact quote from our bylaws is, position statements and policy endorsements require a 2/3 majority vote of the board. Individual board members' votes on endorsements and policy statements will be recorded upon request. So I'm now going to call the vote, and David, I'm going to ask that you record who votes how.
Just to be clear, a yes vote means that you are in support of my motion to oppose bike lanes on 35th. That is correct.
Thank you.
So all in favor of Michelle's motion to be in, to take a position against bike lanes on 35th?
Morgan, me, Joe, three. We got Morgan, David, Kenny, and Michelle.
Opposed to Michelle's motion.
Okay.
So that's Sarah,
Sarah,
Andrew,
H,
me, Scott, and Orly.
Andrew, Inga, Scott, Lorley.
Any abstentions?
This wasn't on the agenda tonight, to my knowledge, and hasn't been an issue that we discussed enough to reach consensus. Just so, I think this is, I don't know if you did this as an intro, Inga at the start of this, but we all volunteer time, as you might imagine, so we figure out how to pick issues that are of particular interest to us. This is one to you, I get that. And sometimes it takes a lot of time, like 15 years, to get a funded sidewalk on 50th, which we just secured last week, which is exciting.
Stealing my thunder.
We have no official role at the city. We like to think maybe on a good day we have influence, but to do that, we have to come to consensus, and that consensus building takes a lot of time. So recognize there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of facts about support and opposition, bike lane, get that, but the way we operate is really by consensus, and that's how we're effective. So really invite all of you guys who want to be part of our organization, please come by first Tuesday of the month, 6:30. Then next time, we're on a shoestring budget. We're trying to grow by mailing list and by engagement as we can. So
We have two open positions.
Yeah, two open positions. It'd be great to have more of you guys attend meetings as possible. Invite your friends, and let's figure out how to be more collaborative on this issue going forward.
Okay, so moving on to the next agenda item, which is sidewalks on 50th.
Okay. So I'm going to try and turn the divide around in this room a little bit. We'll let the message So if I could just get a quick show of hands, how many people use Northeast 50th Street just south of Calvary Cemetery, going basically between 35th and down to U Village, the hill? Okay, I've got good news for you. We will have a sidewalk built, finally, on the southern side of Northeast 50th Street. City Council voted last week to fund $500,000 towards the sidewalk, in addition to $250,000 of mitigation funds from New Village. So we have a total of $750,000 for the sidewalks, which is basically 3 blocks that goes from 33rd down to 30th. And so in the next month or two, we'll be having an open house with inviting SDOT to come in and present design options to get public feedback. So that'd be a perfect time for the public to come back to put in their say about how that sidewalk might be constructed. I think this type of a forum is perfect for this because it allows the people, the citizens of the community to come in and learn about what's happening and also to put in their say about how they might want to see the sidewalk built. So that's the good news.
So just so you know, this has been a process that has taken literally 15 years. Over 15 years, if that's right.
That was like 2 years ago.
Thank you. I keep thinking. So it started with Sarah, or it started before Sarah's time, and went to Sarah, and now it's in Scott's hands, so it's, excuse me.
Yes, we did.
I was gonna write a letter, do you want us to wait until?
Well, you make a motion.
Oh, I move that we send a letter of thanks to Rob Johnson.
I think after it's built, we did that. When it's built and it's underground, it's we can somewhere.
Does this affect the north side of that street at all?
No, it does not. So the north side is the north side is what abuts.
Parking there, no one's used.
I'm sorry?
So even on the sidewalk on the south side, the parking that is used.
There's no parking per se. That's on the south
All
side.
the time, it's not outright.
It's which cross street are you talking about? 30th and 33rd Avenues. Yeah, there is some parking there. It's owned by the landowners. Have that. They use it mostly, as well as U Village employees use it quite a bit, because the U Village doesn't allow their employees to park in the U Village, so it forces a lot of cars to be parked along Northeast 50th. And so.
Well, good job, Scott. This has been a long road. Let's hope it's
Thank you.
open. When are you supposed to construct it?
That's what we'll be talking about. I believe it was on the PMP for 2019.
And obviously they've captured the other money that was already approved and blended it.
The 250,000 I was told will be brought into that for a total of $750,000, which should be enough for proper sidewalks. So at one point they're saying that it would be an asphalt pathway that would be painted. That would be only for the 250,000. So the increased amount, we should have proper sidewalks with gutters is what we're shooting for.
We have a plaque.
So, in addition to thanking Rob for making we should also thank you Village and Jack Pilla for advocating.
Do you want to wait?
We'll wait.
Yeah, but I'm just making sure they get it.
Everybody will be thanked.
And-
We'll have a grand ribbon cutting or something.
And yeah, and I don't know if I volunteered to write the letter, so, but as I'm thinking about what I might say, it's a pretty simple thank you. I mean, I don't think it doesn't,
We
it's
can
not
write,
giving
you
me
can, why don't you put a draft, you can put a draft together.
Right, okay.
Just put a draft together for the
No,
board.
yeah, just thank you, we appreciate it.
So we need to break down in 5 minutes, so what do we have that is pressing? That we
Could you
need to
quickly
talk
say
about?
again when the design, meeting is?
We're studying that. We just found out about the money last week. So I'll be coordinating with Rob Johnson's office to set up a meeting, public meeting with SDOT. We had a meeting already in February, and we had a pretty good turnout. There were about 20 people who came in support of the sidewalks. Yes, RBCA at one of our monthly meetings. So I imagine maybe like September, October, but that'd be the soonest.
So
It'll
Sarah,
be posted, we'll have it posted.
yeah. Sarah, do you have anything? Does the land use committee have anything? Neil, do you want to share what you got to share?
I can just say that they're planning on resubmitting this week.
Okay. Okay, so keep us posted.
Yes. Was Sharon going to?
Sharon's not here, and I'm going to receive it.
On 25th, we probably need to have, maybe it's a coordination of how to have something happen in August, and then invite folks who want to join in on that, and probably dovetails into the follow Jack McCullough meeting that Michelle had months ago, and then I got a call from the guy from Phoenix who said that they've had some developer talks about advancing a signalized intersection potentially at a new 49. That idea has come back alive potentially, or at least to set the table. If they don't have it funded yet by SDOT, to at least have it. Anyway, there's some conversations there to follow up on. Probably need some attention in August. Short story.
So since we don't have a meeting in August, will you email us or?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. We'll just raise the concept now. We'll figure out some timing at work. Probably figure out how to loop into that, and then make that invite known to everybody who wants to attend from the board and others.
Thank you.
Chris, I got a quick question for you. Racer rate, I guess, has moved out.
Really?
Businesses, since I just closed it, people in the neighborhood reported. And so if that will be, do you know anything about, I forget the name of the developer.
Sounds like Skip.
Skip, right. Have you heard any plans for that corner, that lot?
No, I have not, but
Skip did reach out to us and say that he said that there's a plan for the sidewalk there on Union Bay Place.
Which that's on the, around this other
Yeah.
property, yeah.
But then he wanted to either come to our board meeting or, just.
Well, the reason
meet
why,
privately.
the
So we
reason
can
why I
ask
bring
him.
it up, yeah, we can ask them, that'd be great. The reason why I bring it up is because if that corner lot will be developed, whoever develops that will have to put in sidewalks in front.
Yeah,
Which would be a
everybody-
substantial piece, and so we can take our money and use that further up from that, so we can, if we time it well, then we can have that at the same time.
And also, I'm not sure that everybody knows, because I think some of the emails were just sort of, some of us, that the Children's Hospital Autism Center and the, Chase is going to be redeveloped as well. So that whole area
And Jiffy Lube and Office Depot?
that's next,
potentially
that deal, yeah.
So that's
it
what
fell
we
through,
mean by
but
up and along
it's just
25th.
every, 2-story building along 25th is going to be 7 stories.
So that takes out Jiffy Lube as well?
Yeah.
Jiffy Lube is gone.
It's all part of that
That's what we
same, yep. So do you have anything to share about KUCAC? KUCAC is on the city council agenda actually tomorrow morning, just for the council to familiarize themselves with the campus master plan. I sent all board members the KUCAC letter. It was the final recommendations. I think there were like 30 or 40 points of issues they have with the UW's campus master plan. There are about 5 KUCAC members going and giving public comment. They have to stick to the script that was already in that KUCAC bullet point recommendations. But 2 of the KUCAC members are also petitioners, which means they get their own 2 minutes. Are you also a petitioner? No? Anybody else on this board a petitioner? That means you gave public comment to the campus master plan during the public comment period.
Is that the hearings that are that?
No, this is city council. It's already gone to the hearing examiner. And then it goes to city council, then it goes to the board of regents, then it goes back to the council. And we're looking at, summer of, no, that's something else. Actually, the most important thing about the KUCAC is that they have the unreinforced masonry work happening on the UW campus. And that is to prevent the buildings from collapsing during an earthquake. And they are going to be doing 25 buildings on campus. And evidently in the city of Seattle, there are 1,100 buildings that need to be
What
reinforced.
does he actually do?
It's pins, we had a whole demonstration on it, it's very interesting. Anybody's welcome to come to KUCAC meetings, best view in town, 22nd floor of the UW building, second Tuesday of the month. Oh, sorry, City University Community Advisory Council. So we told the library we would be out of here by 4:15, and so we need to take this all down. Thank you everybody for coming, and we'll see you all in September.
So I will need a little bit of help. We need 4 tables up here.